Hello, my name is Michal Hucko and welcome to another lecture of our Django REST framework tutorial or REST API tutorial or class. In this lecture, we're going to talk about virtual environments in Python, and I'm going to show you how you can install Django, the framework which we're going to use for implementing the backend APIs and REST APIs on your computer. So first, let's start with what are the virtual environments. Many times you want to work on different projects within your computer. And let's say you are working on different Python projects. And now one of the Python projects is using one version of libraries and another project is using another versions of the libraries. Now, in order to do this, you would need to reinstall the library every time you are switching to a different project. In order to help you, Python provides you something which is called virtual environment. Virtual environment allows you to create a separate instance of Python. It's like an instance, right? I'm calling it an instance, but it's like a separate Python living in your computer. So in your computer, you will have this global Python with all the libraries which are listed in the pip, the Python install packages tool, which we are using for installing the libraries. And then you will have a separate instance in the virtual environment, a separate instance of Python with the separate libraries outside of the global Python. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can set up your first virtual environment, but I highly recommend going on the internet and reading something about it because it's a very interesting concept and it's one of the main advantages of Python because Python allows you to create this. If you have installed Python in the previous video, you already have the capabilities or the tools which will allow you to create a virtual environment in your computer. So let's do it. So right now I'm in my Git bash, and because for this tutorial I am using Git bash, you can use the Git bash also with me. It's up to you, or I'm gonna show you how you can run the virtual environment also from the command prompt in the Windows, okay? But if you are on the Linux or a Mac OS, the situation will be simpler or almost the same as in the Git bash, okay? So it's quite easy. So first, let's evaluate the Python version. So Python version, we are running 386. 386, I guess. It's up to you. You can run higher version. I believe that the venv tool which we're gonna use won't change in the future. So in order to do this, you need to create a folder where you will do your project because you are creating the virtual environment inside a folder in your file system. Now, for those of you who are new to this terminal-like stuff, I'm gonna show you how you can do this, okay? So, for example, when I close this, right? Let's close this and let's reopen the terminal again. So I'm reopening the Git bash. I'm using a fancy emulator. There is a new version. I'm gonna ignore it. But if you are using Git bash, the situation will be very similar to this which you will see in the short, right? So you will be in the home directory. This is the symbol here. This tilde sign is the sign of the home directory. And from here you can move to a folder which resides inside your home directory. In my case, I have here a tutorials folder. So if I want to change the folder, I'm using command change directory cd, and I'm going to folder called tutorials. I'm pressing tab and it will autofill it. So now I'm inside the tutorials folder, and here I have a bunch of tutorials which I created, right? But for the purpose of this video, we're going to use a subfolder of the folder tutorials, which is called DRF, standing or a shortcut for Django REST framework, the framework which we're going to use throughout this tutorial. So I'm going to change directory and going to DRF. And here inside the folder, when I press ls, I can see all the subfolders. And currently there are two subfolders. Simple HTTP server, the server which I was talking about in the previous video. And there is also a school subfolder. So school subfolder contains a couple of examples which I will go through in the future lectures. So you don't need to worry right now, okay? But now, if you want to create a virtual environment, you need to create a folder for this. So where is this virtual environment? In reality, I already have installed the virtual environment in my computer, and it's presented in this folder inside one of the subfolders which you don't see. These subfolders is called a hidden folder, and it's a hidden subfolder, right? And you couldn't even see it in your Windows browser because it starts with a dot. In order to see a hidden subfolder in, let's say, bash console or git bash console, you need to put command ls-la, a parameter la. So showing you the anonymous file, the hidden files or folders, and here you can see I have this venv folder, and inside this venv folder, if I go there, like ls.venv, you will see that there is a drf subfolder, and inside this drf subfolder, there are files and folders which are connected with the virtual environment. So you don't have this folder in your computer, right? Because I have created it only for myself, right? So you won't have it there. So in order to do this, you need to create the folder, and you can create the folder. So you need to create a folder like mkdir and the name venv. You can put there any kind of name. Basically, you can create a Python virtual environment in any folder with any name you want. You can name it like me, Michal Hucko. It's up to you. Yeah. Venv or venv is like a common naming convention for virtual environment folders. Because then it's quite easier for the rest of the programmers who are looking into your folder to find the virtual environment. So I highly recommend you naming the folder for the virtual environment like this. So when you run this command mkdir, it's mkdir. The mkdir stands for make directory. So you are creating the directory with the name whenever. The directory itself will be empty. So if you run this, you will create an empty directory. So you can run it. Yeah, I already have it, so I don't need to run it. But then I will clear the console for you, so it's quite readable for you and you don't get lost. Now what you need to do, you need to create a virtual environment, the Python virtual environment inside this subfolder or folder. So how are you gonna do it? You need to run command python whenever. This is a Python library which allows you to create the virtual environments, and you have it already installed in your Python when you create it or install the Python into your computer. And here you will put the location of the virtual environments. So the location in this case is .whenever, and here you put behind the the backslash the name of the virtual environment. And I'm gonna call it drf because I already have created it with like this. And when you press enter now, it will take a couple of minutes. The Python will create a folder called drf with all the subfolders you already have seen a couple of seconds ago when I put there the ls, right? So when you press enter, it will take a couple of seconds. Then it will say like nothing. You will see the prompt again. But then when you ls the whenever, you will see that there will be the drf subfolder, and when you ls the drf subfolder, you will see there are a couple of subfolders which are connected with the virtual environment. If you're running Windows, you will see there are folders called include, lib, scripts with capital letters, and py-env-cfg file. If you are running, let's say, Linux or macOS, the names of the folders will be different. There will be a bin file, okay? So now you have created your virtual environment. But you need to somehow run it, activate the virtual environment. First, let's inspect the global Python. As I said, when you install the Python, you are using a global Python if you don't use the virtual environment. So there are libraries connected with the global Python. In order to see the global libraries of Python, you need to run command pip list. And this will list all the Python libraries and versions of them which are installed in the global, because I didn't activate the virtual environment which I created a couple of seconds ago, okay? So it's still not activated. And all these those libraries are connected with my global Python. So now let's activate the virtual environment, okay? Let's do it. So let's clear. And in order to activate, you need to run a script which locates inside this drf/scripts folder. When you want to go to the history of the commands, you press the top arrow on your keyboard, okay? And as you can see, I'm listing the whenever drf scripts, and there is a activate script which activates the virtual environment for your running instance of the git bash console, okay? So how you gonna do it? You run the script inside there with a special command which is called source. So this source command is only available for git bash, for macOS, and for Linux. So now you need to run that script. So I just copy the path, but you don't need to copy it. If you want, you go like source, and you can press tab and go like whenever tab, drf, tab is the key on the keyboard, okay? drf, and then you run the activate script, you need to go to the script and activate. And this will activate your virtual environment for you. How do I know it's activated? Because here in the round brackets, I see the drf, the name of the virtual environment which I created. You remember .python.m whenever drf whenever/drf. drf is the name. And now it's activated. Fine, you can say, well, but I'm not using git bash. I'm using the cmd of the Windows. How can I activate that? Good question. So you go to the cmd, right? And I can run the same process from the cmd just to show you. And in the cmd, you again need to navigate to the subfolder which you are working on. In the cmd, in the Windows, there is no command cd, or I think there is. Let's try it. cd, yeah, there is maybe. cd, and you need to navigate to the tutorials in this case, and you are using the other slashes, so not the backslash, but the front slash. I hope it's like a front slash. I always calling it front slash because like it's leaning forward. So tutorials, drf, and when you are here and you press ls, you will see that ls command is not presented because ls is only presented in the git bash and on the Linux-based systems. So you need to run the command which is, I think, dir, right? Yeah, dir. So dir will list the following folder, and you can see there is the whenever folder, right? And you can basically run again the python.m whenever, right? Whenever, right? And you put there the name drf. The same Python command you can run from inside the CMD, that's fine. But the difference is here. If you want to activate the virtual environment in your CMD, you cannot use the source command because there is no source command. Source is not recognized as an internal or external command. What you need to do, you need to directly run the command from the folder, like whenever slash the name, which is in this case drf, and then you go to the scripts and you put there /activate and you press enter, and the virtual environment will be activated. So this is how you do it in the CMD. Now, just to prove you that the virtual environment is separated from the global Python environment, when you run pip list, you will see that currently there will be different Python libraries installed in this computer, in this virtual environment. So if I print pip list, you will see that here I have installed the Django, the setup tools, and SQL parse because I already installed the Django tool here, okay? So, but you can see there is fewer libraries compared to the pip list from the global Python environment. So these are the virtual environments. I hope it's easy for you to understand. I did it quite fast because there is so many things to talk about virtual environments, but this tutorial is not about virtual environments. And I'm just briefly showing you. You can run the Python and Django and develop with this course without the virtual environment if you want, but I highly recommend doing this because this helps you to develop and to be the better developer out there, right? So separating the libraries for your current project into the virtual environment. So now, how to install the Django? Installing Django is as simple as pip install Django, and I already did it, so when I press enter, it will say like already presented or something like that. But if you run it, yeah, you see requirement already satisfied. I have it here. You will see that after that, and when you put the pip list, you will see also there the Django and SQL parse and I think the PITs and ASCII-ref libraries, which are like needed requirements for installing the Django in your virtual environment. So that's everything for today's lecture. I hope you learned something new. I hope you learned something about virtual environments. I highly recommend going outside and read about it on the internet. My name is Michal Hucko. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope I will see you in the next lecture.